Dragi gledatelji, dobrodošli. Ja sam Ines Žižić, a vi gledate Atma podcast. Moj današnji gost ovdje u studiju je njegova svetost Bhakti Vasudev Swami Maharajem, znanstvenik, autor i duhovni učitelj s više od 40 godina iskustva u širenju vedskog znanja. Danas u ovom podcastu ćemo razgovarati o izuzetno zanimljivoj i važnoj temi, a ta tema je zvuk, odnosno sakralni zvuk i njegov utjecaj na naš život, svijest, kako individualno, tako i kolektivno. Znači, sakralni zvuk i sve one stvari koje idu uz to, mantra, meditacija, znanstveni učinci, to je znanstveni dokazi utjecaja zvuka na nas. Da ja ne bi previše duljila, ja ću sada pozdraviti našeg gosta i prebaciti se na engleski jezik. Maharaj, welcome to Atma podcast. It's a real honor and treat to have you here.
My pleasure.
So here you are, day after your lecture in our Atma Center in Split. The topic of your lecture was also the topic which we are going to cover today. It is the sacred sound and mantra meditation. So I'm really looking forward to this topic because I think we never covered it quite thoroughly. So now is the time. Okay. So, but first, before we start with this topic, I want to ask you a little bit more about your background. How did you start your spiritual path, and how come you are now Maharaj, Swami?
It's a nice question. Basically, I met the devotees of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness on December 1983. At the time, I was a pretty young man, 25 years of age. That is a period for all types of sense gratificatory pursuits. Then I loved the philosophy. And so I traced the temple. And then I got more books. I bought 2 books the first day. I read those books, and I used to have burning questions as a child growing up. For instance, I used to ask questions regarding if God, because I came from a Christian background, and I used to ask questions about if God is all merciful, why is it that some people are born deaf, blind, dumb? What type of God is this? He says merciful. I ask questions I present this question to my teachers, my family, and friends, elders. You know, the normal answer I got from these 3 circles of people is that, hey, yes, a small boy, you ask too many big questions. I was not satisfied with that. So when I met the ISKCON devotees, the devotees of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, I bought 2 books. I wrote those books, and then all my questions were answered. So I went to their temple and bought more books. And that's how I became interested in Krishna consciousness. Yeah. And my professional background is that I have a PhD in applied management and decisions from Walden University in the United States. And my focus in preaching is mainly on academics, professors, and youth development. And so I use my skills in trying to help people, those who are in high-profile positions, to rejuvenate their spiritual awareness. The youth, to help the youth in balancing their profession or their studies with their spiritual life. So this is my objective criteria in the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Can you maybe explain a little bit to our viewers who are maybe curious about your outfit and about the stick? What is it?
Yeah, and this is my staff of office. It's called a tridanda. Tridanda in the sense that it is made up of 3 sets of sticks. Here there are 2, one here, the other one here, and then there is a long one. So it's 3. In Sanskrit, T-R-I means 3.
Also in Croatian, yeah, 3.
Okay, that's good. And so, danda means a stick. So, this is my staff of office. I'm a Swami. A Swami is one who has given up material pursuits, dedicate his life to spreading the word of God and to help people create an atmosphere where people can really understand who they are, where they're coming from, what is the ultimate purpose of life, and how to go about pursuing that. Because in this world, no matter who you are, we have some challenges. And in most cases, people are not aware of what to do. So the Swami goes around, we travel a lot. I travel practically on the whole world. And we try to educate people about how to solve individual and collective problems from a spiritual perspective. Yeah, because each problem that we can count always have some alternative approach to it. That is a spiritual approach to it. And it's been very much fundamental right from the time of creation, spirituality. We are spiritual beings. And so we can't deny the fact that we are spiritual beings. For instance, if you sleep and then you have a dream, you find yourself someplace, but then when you wake up, you're on a bed. What does that mean? It means that we have different settings within this bodily tabernacle. We have the physical body, we have the subtle body, and we are the soul proper, the spiritual entity within this body. That soul is like you buy, say you buy the most current iPhone. you need a chip to activate it.
Yeah, yeah.
So the spirit soul within this body is the activator of this body tabernacle. So we teach people how to understand that very spiritual entity so that they can approach life from a perspective that is problem-solving oriented.
Thank you very much. And you mentioned that we can activate this spiritual entity, which is basically us. I think it has a lot of connection with sound, this activation. So let's now dive into this topic of sound, which was also the topic of your lecture yesterday in Atma. But let us speak more about this topic. It's really interesting. What do Vedas say? What is actually a sound? Where does it come from? What does science say? What are the effects of the sound on human consciousness, and also not just consciousness, on the material energy? So can you tell us a little bit more about that, also from Vedic perspective, but also maybe from some scientific one?
Sound is such an imperative factor in society. By sound and sound only, do humans facilitate their exchanges in terms of social exchanges, economic exchanges, or whatever exchanges you can think about is through sound. For instance, we're talking, and what is facilitating the communication is sound. Now, in the beginning, also, what facilitated the beginning of the creation was sound, because we have an entity we call Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma is the secondary creator of this universe. We have the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. But then under him, just like we have a president of a country, they have ministers. And so the secondary creator of this, our universe, okay, I say our universe in the sense that there are billions of universes.
Wow.
And our universe is one of the smallest universes. And our universe is manned by a personality called Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma, when he was created, there is a complex stuff there. So we don't want to confuse our viewers, but I'm just using the word. When he became manifest, he manifested on a lotus, on the wolf of a lotus. So he was wondering how he became manifest there. Because he was confused, and then he had a voice. He had a voice, tapa, austerity, sound.
The sound came.
So that gave him an impetus to be able to perform some austerity And then he was empowered with some ideas on how he came about. And that is how he was able to develop different strategies on how to populate this world. So sound was, is the pivot of material creation. In the Vedic knowledge, or a Vedic system, also these days, these days in India, they coin another word, Indian knowledge system. But it means the same thing, not Vedic system. Scholars have developed different ways of addressing modern issues from their own perspectives. So whether you call it Indian knowledge system or the Vedic knowledge, it all begins with sound. So this sound transforms people, and sound also could be used in destructive ways. I'll give you an example. In the philosophical thesis of the Vedanta, the very first mantra is Atata Brahma Jigyasa. Now we are humans. Let's inquire about our origin. And so we have a concept of sound referred to as Omkara. Omkara is a sound manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you may call him Krishna, Allah, Jehovah, Yahweh, or whatever, but he can also be addressed in the form of sound. So God also is manifest in the form of sound. And that is technically referred to as Omkara. And sound is transformative. Sound also could be destructive.
Yeah.
Because, for instance, people who are involved in transformative approaches to life, they use sound to be able to heal people. They use sound to elevate people's consciousness. And people who are diabolical, they use sound to destroy people.
Can you give us example, maybe, to illustrate what we are talking about?
Yeah. For instance, people who are diabolical, they could chant some type of mantras to inflict some pain on somebody or to project a negative energy on somebody. These are very common.
Yeah, some kind of black magic or...
Exactly, exactly. So that also, in most cases, people use sound. Now, sound also, there's a concept in metaphysics we call psychokinesis. You can use some type of sound vibrations to move objects that are far away from you. So you see how sound is so powerful. That this very sound principle is what actually makes everything click in this universe. And so we can't do without sound. And there are so many research publications, not just qualitative research publications, because there are three methodologies in research. And one of them is quantitative. The quantitative methodology in research, those research results are generalizable. So you can say, this experiment was done in Croatia and it's not applicable in America. No. And what I'm talking about, all of these researches that have been conducted on sound, on different type of mantras, on different sounds, specifically, I know the ones that have to deal with the Hare Krišna maha-mantra, they're so profound that, see, in research, before you get published, your research results or your research work will be viewed or will be examined by peer reviewers, people who are other scientists. They will examine it and see how you got your results. Now, a lot of the researches, especially with this mantra meditation or the maha-mantra, the Hare Krišna maha-mantra, they have come up with results. Of course, these things have been embedded in the Vedic literature since time immemorial. But you know what? These days, this is an era of science. And so if you want to talk to somebody, to convince somebody about the potency of sound, you have to prove it.
Yeah.
And so the scientists, they come up with all of this research, and one of them, I know vividly, it was published in the last quarter of 2023, and that was on how the chanting of the Hare Krišna maha-mantra. Hare Krišna maha-mantra is a transcendental sound vibration, spiritual sound vibration. And this mantra was used in the experiment. The results show that by chanting this Hare Krišna maha-mantra, one acquires some type of side effects. But don't worry.
Okay.
The side effects are good ones.
Okay.
And one of those
good to know.
one of those good side effects is that it mitigates insomnia. Insomnia is a very troubling mental illness. You can't sleep. You find difficulty in sleeping. So these scientists came up with reports that, from their research, that the chanting of the Hare Krišna maha-mantra, one of the side effects is that it facilitates good sleep. In other words, it mitigates insomnia. There are many, many scientific results. I conducted the research in 2021 and had it presented on the same Hare Krišna maha-mantra, which is a transcendental sound vibration. And sometimes, people think that, people are not aware that this process of chanting is a scientific process. So I conducted the research on this same mantra in 2021. I had it presented at the World Academy of Science, Engineering and Technology in London on June 28th. Now, the research, not only was it so appealing to the professors who are scientists themselves, the presentation received the Best Presentation Award. And it was published in the International Journal of Mechanical and Industrial Engineering.
Wow.
Yeah. I can send you a copy of that.
Yeah.
So we see how the purportedly spiritual mantras that people don't know, we just think they are religious stuff, they are spiritual stuff. But no, they are of scientific orientation. And that work, that publication is there on the web. And I can send it to you if you want.
Yes.
There are many other scientific publications on the value of science in creating a positive change in society. I give you an example. In 1990, there was one scholar who conducted his PhD dissertation on how the chanting of the Hare Krišna maha-mantra helps to mitigate anxiety and depression.
That's a hot topic in today's society.
It's there. You could Google it on the web. Our viewers could Google on the web. Hare Krišna maha-mantra, and depression. There are multiple research conducted on this very hard topic. And it shows the positive effect of the Hare Krišna maha-mantra on depression, stress, anxiety. So there's so many research that have been conducted. And therefore, normally when I talk, I like to make a reference in terms of science. Because otherwise, sometimes people think that, oh, this is dogmatic, they just preach and all this type of stuff. No, I don't preach. I talk science. So yeah, I go deep into the roots of the Vedic culture, but I'm able to also correlate that with modern science and technology. So that you don't say, well, you believe it, I don't believe it. No, science means what? There is an activity, there is observation, there are results, and there is a conclusion. It's valid. So whether you believe it or not, no, it's valid.
Yeah, it's working. Yeah.
So yeah, mantra basically comes from two words in Sanskrit. Man means mind. Tra means to free. Mantra simply implies a process of freeing the mind from sound vibration. Again, sound. Transcendental sound vibration. So when we chant this Hare Krišna maha-mantra, Hare Krišna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, There are so many things that we benefit from now, just by this chanting. Yes, the ultimate goal is Krishna Prema Pumato Maha, to attain pure love for God. We call God Krishna. But all of these side effects are there, and people who want to, for instance, mitigate their anger, they should be involved in mantra meditation. People who want to mitigate their anxieties, their stress levels, their depressive feelings, whatever. See, the mantra has been proven to be very useful in mitigating mental health challenges. That is a plus for this spiritual culture. And most people are not aware of the scientific undertones for the process of chanting mantras. And I tell you, look, I have been doing this for the past 40 years. I have a PhD in management science. You think I'm stupid? To be doing this
You're good.
to be doing this for 40 years?
Yeah.
So that alone should give people an inspiration. People should think, let me investigate what this management scientist has been doing for 40 years.
Yeah.
Come on, let me check out with these guys. Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a little bit about Sanskrit and the meaning of mantras. So I see that usually mantras are in Sanskrit. So can you explain a little bit more why is this Sanskrit so powerful, and what's the secret behind it? Do we need to understand the meaning of mantra in order to mantra to be effective?
No, you don't need to understand the meaning of a mantra to be effective. It means like you do not need to understand that fire burns before it burns you. You put your hand on the fire, it will burn you. Whether you know the meaning, whether you understand that the fire is going to burn you or not, you put your hand on the fire, it's going to burn you. Okay?
Yeah.
So, a mantra is also like that. When you chant a mantra, whether you chant jokingly, whether you chant just to make a mockery of the people who are involved in that system, you get some benefit. You don't need to understand it. And so, this is a universal principle in mantra philosophy, mantra meditation. So yeah, people who are intrigued by this process, they get involved to investigate, to find out. But if you know the meaning of the mantra, that helps you in helping others to convince others about why they need to chant, and to explain also to them the meaning. For instance, the Hare Krišna maha-mantra basically has 16 words. Hare Krišna. Now, we repeat these words, it makes 16. Hare Krišna, Hare Krišna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now, these 16 words, they constitute 32 syllables. Now, the meaning of this mantra is basically that we are begging for the help. We're begging. It's like a child crying for the mother. So, it's crying for help. We are crying for help. We are begging Krishna. We are begging the Supreme Lord. We are begging the aspect of pleasure. Krishna means the all-attractive personality of God. Rama means the reservoir of all pleasure. And Hare is the devotional energy of God. And so we are begging the devotional aspect of God. We are begging his pleasure potency. We are also begging his personality as Krishna, who is all attractive. Now people get attracted to other people who are attractive. If you're ugly, it's also difficult to get a nice spouse. So where is this beauty coming from? It's coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the reservoir of all beauty. And so this mantra basically, which consists of 16 words, it has 32 syllables. And the process of chanting it, this is why it is good to know the meaning of the mantra, because it helps you to help other people. Now, this mantra basically means that we are begging God, we are begging Krishna to pick us up from this suffering we are undergoing in this material world, to again engage us in his service. Now, if you have a child and the child comes to you, Mom, what can I do for you? Hey, Mom, your shoe is dirty. Can I clean it for you first before you go out? how will you treat that child? When you go out, you'll be meditating on this child. You'll be thinking, what? This little child? Let me buy something to give it to him. So, the essence of serving the Lord, begging for service, people should understand. This is why the understanding of a mantra could help to facilitate other people's conviction about that very process. Because if you're chanting a mantra or you're distributing a mantra and someone asks you, what's the meaning of this mantra? And then they say, I don't know. How are they going to be enthused about that?
No, they will
not.
Yeah.
But then the point is that if mantra is chanted even on the street, the people who are not even involved in the chanting, they benefit. I'll give an example. In the 19th century, there was research that was conducted in Washington, D.C. in America. These professors, they gathered people who are chanters of mantras. They came, and before they started the experiment, they checked with the crime diary in D.C., Washington, D.C., and they recorded it. So they engaged these chanters for a couple of days in that public chanting. And then at the end of it, they went to check the crime diary. There was a big difference between the period they were chanting prior to their involvement in that exercise. So the chanting has been proven scientifically to help in mitigating crime. Even general crime rate. That was another experiment that was conducted regarding crime. And so the process of Krishna consciousness, which we are prosecuting, which we are following, it's a science, boy.
It is? Yeah, I know. I believe you.
Oh, yeah. Our mantras are the fundamental practice that we have. Everything we do, we invoke, we use mantras. Because the mantras help in freeing the mind from anxieties.
So can you a little bit make a difference? There are a lot of mantras. Some spiritual masters gave some specific mantras for a specific person. There are these, let us say, free mantras like Hare Krišna maha-mantra, which can everybody chant. There are specific initiations for Gayatri mantras. Can you tell us a little bit what is the difference between these secretive mantras and these free mantras, and why are they always in Sanskrit?
Why are they always in Sanskrit? Why are they always in Sanskrit? Because in the spiritual world, where this knowledge is coming from, is the language spoken there is Sanskrit. Yeah.
So it's a transcendental language.
It's called technically Devanagari.
Devanagari.
So it's spoken in the spiritual world, on higher planets too. So this is why it's potent. The Sanskrit is very important, is that this is something that is coming down from the Parampara. It's emanating from the Supreme Abode, from the Supreme Lord Himself, who spoke to Lord Brahma, who is the second creator. And they conversed, the conversation was in Sanskrit. In the spiritual world, the conversation is in Sanskrit. Here in the material world, we have so many languages, so many islands, so many countries and all these things. So we have different languages. That's one of the characteristics of the material world. But in the spiritual world, the language is a common denominator. Sanskrit is a common denominator, that everybody speaks Sanskrit. And so it's so powerful because it's coming from the spiritual world. Yeah.
And about the mantras, different types of mantras.
Yeah, the different type of, that's an important point. The different type of mantras, yeah, sometimes, people pay a lot of money to get mantras from yogis. And the free ones, people don't seem to take cognizance of their potency. There are different mantras. There are the general mantras people can give freely. There are mantras that you have to be initiated into a system before you get it. For instance, if you have to chant the Brahma Gayatri mantra, you have to be initiated into the Brahman circle. So these the difference is that for instance, the Brahma Gayatri mantra helps you in chanting the Hare Krišna mantra better. It facilitates better concentrated on unfiltered, filtered chanting. Filtered chanting in the sense that, it's when we're doing the chanting, we have all these type of disturbances from the mind. The mind is being bombarded with different type of ideas and different noises. And so the Brahma Gayatri helps the chanter in mitigating all of these things and facilitates expedited process of attaining Krishna Prema by the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra.
But you have to be initiated in Brahma Gayatri.
Yeah, you need to be a Brahmin. You need to be given the Brahmin Gayatri by a spiritual master who is in disciplic succession. Otherwise, if you can also find it in the books, but if you just pick it and start chanting, you don't get the effectiveness like when you receive it from a guru in the disciplic succession.
But in contrast with Hare Krishna maha-mantra, everybody can chant.
Yeah, everybody can chant and not even attain pure love for Krishna.
Yeah.
So
you don't have to be initiated in Hare Krishna maha-mantra to attain pure love of Krishna.
No.
That's interesting.
In fact, sometimes people think that unless you're initiated, the argument to that is that the people in Vrindavan, they don't take initiation from anybody.
Yeah.
So they chant Radha's name all the time. Radhe, 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 Radhe. So yeah, even we had some, in the past, there was some type of misconception that if you're not initiated, you cannot put on, if you're not following the four regular principles, you cannot put on a tulsi. That also has been debunked through some research in the Shastra. So anybody who puts on the tulsi
like a
plant,
necklace of tulsi tree, yeah?
You get protected. And we should encourage people to do this. You could check in the scriptures. I mean, it's right there. Sometimes we create so many unnecessary rules.
Yeah, myths, yeah. Yeah, spend so much energy on them instead of chanting, for example.
Right.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
So
Papa, what do you say about...
The mantras are essential because, you see, there are also all of these traditional mantras people chant, like incantations in some traditions. Mantras exist everywhere, not only in the Vedic system. Mantras exist everywhere. It's just that the potency of the mantra is what matters. The purpose of that chanting is what makes the difference. But then the Hare Krishna maha-mantra is called the maha-mantra. It's the highest of all mantras. Why? Because it enables the chanter to attain pure love for Krishna, pure love for God. There are some mantras you chant and you can bring a dead body back to life. Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe some viewers would be interested in that one.
There are mantras you chant to be able to get a nice spouse. Yeah. We find in the Bhagavad Purana how soldiers are dead, demoniac soldiers are dead, and their spiritual master revives them by the use of mantras. In fact, there are specific mantras for bringing the dead back to life. But the point is, if you are brought back to life, what will you do with your life? To more sinful activities, more karma. So better to die and go.
Yeah, for sure. And what do you think about this? There's lots of this. Let me say it like this: New Age type of philosophies and stuff, where the spiritual masters give like specific individual mantras to each disciple. Is this like Vedic tradition, or it's like different types of schools in Hinduism?
There are so many different types of schools that they are getting some ideas from the Vedic literature, and then they are also creating, because the human mind is full of innovative adventures.
It's very creative.
The point is that we have to see which disciplic succession is endorsing that. We have disciplic successions that go up back to the Supreme Lord. So where did you get this idea? That's the question. What discipline succession are you coming from? Where did you get this idea? So people create so many things. You see, when I was a kid, I never liked religion. You know why?
Why?
Because I see people who are involved in religion do sometimes the worst things. So I hated religion. But then, even when I was asking questions about life, for instance, I lost my uncle when I was a kid. I think when I was in grade 3 or grade 4. Then I kept asking people, so when someone dies, so I was coming to the home, into my father's home, and you know, one of my aunts came to tell me, I was whistling. Then my aunt came to tell me, hey, stop. I said, why? He called my uncle's name. He said, he's gone. So I didn't understand what she meant. So I went straight to his room. And then when I went, people were surrounding his bed. People surrounded his bed, and he was lying, they lay him on the bed. So I said, you say he's gone. Look at him there. They said, oh, you're a small boy, you don't know what has taken place. So, but then I didn't understand, I was confused. As I was growing up, I was asking also about that. And I asked, when someone dies, where do they go? Because I had inquisitive mind when I was small. My disappointment was that, you know, family members, my teachers, the pastors, they couldn't respond to my questions favorably. And so when I met the devotees, I read Prabhupada's books, and my questions were all clarified. That's how I became interested in Krishna consciousness. See, I met the devotees in December. And in March, I gave up my job. I was working for the Department of Justice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, it took you 3 months.
Yeah, it took me 3 months because it was something like I was hungry for this.
Yeah, I said, that's it, I'm leaving everything behind me.
And then I saw it, and it was, then I gave up all of my, you know, attachment to my friends. Normally, as a young man, when we finish from work, sometimes I don't come back to my apartment. We go out with friends.
Yeah.
But then when I stopped all of that, my friends were mainly prosecutors and police officers. And they were really mad at me that why all of a sudden I have this change of behavior.
Yeah, you were taken by a cult.
And here's what happened. When I became a full-time devotee, and I was going out on Sankirtan preaching, I went to one place, police headquarters. Keep in mind, I was born in Nigeria. I got invited by some professors in the United States for presentations at political science conferences, and then ended up being a citizen. I ended up being in the US and became a citizen. So when I was walking back there in Nigeria, all of these complications were coming up because I saw things that I couldn't figure out, but then no one was there to help me out. Even as a child, I was confused about some concepts or some things that were happening around me, but then no one could help me to figure it out. And so parents couldn't help, family members, teachers, the pastors. So this was my dilemma. And therefore, when I met the devotees, I got my questions clearly answered. I read Prabhupada's books, I got my questions answered. So why should I waste time for anything else?
I understand.
This was my motivation, that I thought, these guys, they have just wonderful philosophy. Let me help in spreading this mission. Some people out there must be suffering like me, who are wanting to know things and they don't have answers. That was my motivation to join this movement. And I thank Krishna, I thank my spiritual master, I thank the devotees of ISKCON that I've been hanging out in this movement for the past 40 years.
Wow, that's a powerful story. Yeah, I can relate to that, yeah. But not in your capacity, for that for sure. Okay, so can you tell us more about the effects of mantras in different aspects of human life? Maybe now go more into detail also. Maybe are there some health effects You told us about mental effects, about depression, sleepless nights, and also what is the effect on the soul? How does it purify? Does it purify the soul? What's happening with you when you chant, for example, regularly?
That's a good question. Now, the soul within this body is 1/10,000 the tip of the air. It's so minuscule. It's so infinitesimal.
That's an interesting description.
It's so infinitesimal. But that same infinitesimal anti-material entity is the one that is providing consciousness. There is a source of consciousness for this body. So, we have a situation where a very minute element is the life force. And the chanting of the maha-mantra, for instance, the chanting of mantras that help in rejuvenating our consciousness or improving our values also helps in the process of the soul's evolution from disentangling from material attachments. I'll give an example. Those who are involved in chanting, they have a better view of their lives, they have better understanding of the identities, and the soul begin to shed all of these unwanted anarthas. Anarthas, unwanted things. We have a bunch of anarthas, unwanted things. And I tell my students, look, whatever that you are doing, you should ask yourself, is this going to help you in your devotional spiritual life? Or is it going to help you in your career? If you're a student, will it help you in improving your grades? Whatever you're doing, ask yourself. Or will it help you to give a promotion in your job, in your career? So, essentially, when you are involved in the chanting, all the anarthas of getting involved in unhealthy activities, you begin to share them. And the soul blooms. By the time you become a perfected soul, the soul becomes really fully bloomed and attains a real natural form, and then is escorted by the Vishnu Dutas back home, back to God. See, this body that we are seeing is it's a cloth, like a cloth we are wearing. This physical body we are seeing is made up of earth, water, fire, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Earth, water, fire, mind, intelligence, and false ego. So, besides these elements, we have Bhumi, Apo, Nalavayo, Kam, Mano, Buddhi, Ankara, Evacha. So, besides these elements, gross and subtle elements, the 5 gross elements and subtle elements, mind, intelligence, and ego are the subtle elements. And then the physical stuffs we are seeing, the ether, the physical body, water, fire, this constitute the physical body. And that is why we need to understand that when someone is chanting the maha-mantra, the attachment to these physical elements and the subtle body, subtle elements, the detachment to these physical elements and subtle body becomes enhanced. By the time they become perfected, they are taken in transcendental airplanes back home, back to God. They never have to come to experience life of repeated birth and death again. They never have to come to experience this whole system where he is subject to so much of suffering with little bit of enjoyment.
Yeah, that's true.
So the essence of this mantra, the very essence of the mantra, is to decarcerate the soul from material encumbrances, to purify the soul so that the soul becomes fully developed spiritually and get out from this material world.
Can you maybe give us some examples of what anarthas are and how we develop those?
Yeah, anarthas, for instance, one of them is taking of intoxications. All those signs scientific research shows, even the doctors, they tell us that intoxication impairs our reasoning, and it creates some distortion in our thinking patterns. And people are addicted to intoxication. So that is one another. And intoxication has caused so much trouble. People have died of from intoxication through hepatitis C. When you take an intoxication, it affects your liver. So this is one another. And people enjoy taking alcoholic drinks. But it destroys your liver. And then you can get liver cancer. Sadly, this is a bitter truth.
Yeah, it's a destructive habit, yeah.
So what people need to know is that the anatas, for instance, taking of intoxications. Another ananta is illicit sex. I'll give you an example. The 10th director for International Monetary Fund, he's a French guy. He's called Strauss-Kahn. Strauss-Kahn, he went to New York and he got attracted to a maid in the hotel. Strauss-Kahn went to one of the best universities in France. Graduated in economics, if I'm not mistaken. His wife also is a very reputed scholar in the financial industry. Beautiful wife. He went to America and got attracted to a maid, and he was indicted for attempting rape along with other charges. He was found guilty. They threw him in jail. He lost his job. Ananta. If someone has no control over their sex appetite, look, it could learn. I know of people in America who have gone to jail for illicit sex. It seems like a joke, but someone could say, "Oh, America, that's a free country where sex can be, performed anywhere and anyhow." But the laws, if you are married, for instance, you could get into trouble. If you have an affair with someone underage, they're looking for that. It's called statutory rape. The teacher having sex with the student, you can get into trouble. But people are not aware of how to be able to transcend all of this type of illicit urges. So I feel bad when I see people get into trouble like this. And that is one of the reasons why we have to propagate this knowledge and freely, of course, to people, so that those who are intelligent enough, they can take advantage and embark on this process of spiritual realization, pivoted with this mantra meditation that we do every day. So this is another aspect of ananta, that it has ruined the life of so many people. I don't want to go too much because this is a public program and you call some people's name, then they say, "Oh, but he's supposed to be a spiritual guy." Well, why is he taking advantage? And then talking about people who have become victims of their uncontrolled senses. Yeah, but sometimes we have to speak the truth.
Yeah, sure.
We may be bitter, but so in America they are very strict. Other countries, most of the other countries, you can be married and then go to have affair anyhow you like. Nobody cares. But America is not like that. That's the beauty of America.
There are a lot of charges for sexual harassment. I know that.
Yeah. The Me Too and all this type of stuff, and especially in the entertainment industry. There are so many things coming up in the entertainment industry in America. Some people are already in jail.
Yeah, and really degraded stuff.
Some
like
people are already in jail because of that. So these are some examples of anatta. People take pleasure in enjoying anatta, but the disastrous effect could be very grave.
Yeah. Also, Krishna speaks that to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita when Arjuna asks him, what is it? What is it? What is that in people that induces him to do sinful activity despite he's aware of it? He doesn't want it on a conscious level, but still he cannot help himself.
Krishna responded. He said, Kama esha, krodha esha, raja guna, tamobhava, mahasano mahapapma, vidyana ihavayana. He said, it's only lust that is the root cause of all this problem. And you know what? The problem is that people think that lust is love.
Yes, that's a problem.
People miscue. Okay, someone is attracted to some beautiful lady. He's married. He's attracted to a beautiful lady. He goes after her. Or the lady may be married. He goes after her. And he said that this is love at first sight. No, you are attracted to this person.
It's the lust on first sight.
Thank you. It's lust at first sight.
And you're lost.
It's
lost and you're lost.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you see, if even we don't want to attain perfection, it's good to, associate with people who are spiritually inclined, devotionally inclined, with the Vaishnavas, these devotees of the Hare Krišna movement. They have a lot to give to the world. We should see how we are tapping into their knowledge. We don't mean that people will have to dress like this or put on tilak or neck beads. But see, you want to save yourself from so much of social calamities. You want to be there to maintain your family, so you don't run the risk of going to jail because of a lack of self-control. Incidentally, this is not only what the Bhagavatam says. You see, the Bhagavatam is corroborated by modern criminologists. In the Bhagavatam, it is mentioned, Adanta Gopi Vishatam Tamesham, that the root cause of all the problems in society is uncontrolled senses. Uncontrolled mind, uncontrolled senses. Now, modern criminologists have also corroborated that because Gottfriedson and Hitchie, two criminologists in America, they developed the general theory of crime, which stipulates that all crimes and antisocial behavior are due to low self-control. The same thing, it's just a matter of semantics, different language, different ways to put it. The same thing. And so, what is the root? What do we derive from this? Spiritual bankruptcy is the root cause of all the problems on this planet.
Yes. It's a root cause.
Yeah. So we need people to understand that our problems, material problems, could easily be solved if we invoke spirituality, authentic spirituality, like the Vedic Vaishnava system, be practitioners of the spiritual culture and that we profess. I say be practitioners in the sense that people can speak very nicely and they don't practice, then they become what I call parrotologists. A parrot, can repeat things. If you teach a parrot to say something, they're very expert, they're gifted naturally. God has given them that potential. So the parrot can repeat things very nicely, but the parrot cannot practice anything. So in most cases, the parrot don't even understand what you're saying. They can just repeat. So the spiritualist should not be a parrotologist, someone who simply repeats statements for the purpose of, getting some
attention, some public, like a parrot,
So we should transcend.
Some food.
We should transcend parrotology, come to the level where we practice, we understand what we are saying, and we practice it. When we practice, then we get realizations. We get purified. And that helps the person, the individual, and his community or her community in a positive way. Because you see the people who are preachers, and they are also good example for the people. Then people will be interested in spirituality. If they don't find good values in the people who are professing to be spiritual, they become disconnected with the system. Because people in general, they want to see people or preachers who walk their talk.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That is powerful. But yeah, it's very much different if you receive information from someone who is practicing it than the someone who's just parroting. It doesn't have the same effect. It doesn't have power.
You're right.
Yeah. So can you maybe just tell me a little bit more about the jnana aspect of everything? Because I know that people who are very well versed in Vedic knowledge and Bhakti are very much into philosophy, you know. And modern men, like generally, they say they don't have time for that. So how much is knowledge important in developing like a spiritual life?
Yeah, that's a nice question. So knowledge is fundamental to the development of spiritual reality. Because if you don't, I mean, knowledge is like we have, say, a theory. Say, someone develops a theory. That theory is a foundation with which to solve problems. But if you don't apply that theory in problem solving, then what is it? Now, if you don't even know about the theory, you are lost. You can't solve your problem. I mean, it's like you have in mathematics, there are formulas. So the professor teaches the different formulas. And you want to try to solve a mathematical problem in calculus, you don't know the formula to use, you are lost. So, in a similar way, if we don't have the knowledge, if we don't have the gyan, how are we going to implement what we intend to implement? So, first of all, we should have philosophical ambition. We should try to understand things. The more we understand, even Lord Krishna mentions in his conversation when he was talking to Lakshmiji in the form of Narayan, Lord Krishna mentioned in the Gita Mahatmya, one of our books, one of the Vedic traditions is called Gita Mahatmya. It is giving you, Gita Mahatmya gives you an idea about the benefits of reading each text of the Bhagavad Gita, each chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And so in Gita Mahatmya, Lord Narayan, he told Lakshmiji that the Bhagavad Gita is not different from him. Therefore, if you read the Bhagavad Gita in a process of knowledge acquisition, you are actually worshiping the Lord with your intelligence. And therefore, you get purified. So this is the beauty of Gyan. You read the Bhagavad Gita to get Gyan, to get knowledge, but then from that Gyan, you get purified just by getting the knowledge. You get purified. And now, if you implement the knowledge, amazing. You get wonderful realization, expedited process in your spiritual pursuit. So yeah, Gyan is important. And the Gyan should lead us to the point where we surrender to devotion, Krishna's devotional service. Because the Gyan is telling you ultimately, Sarvadhamma Paritaja, Manikam Sarnapada, Aham Tvam,
Sarvapapebhyo Mokshaishami Mashucha.
So that is the ultimate goal in Gyan. That's the ultimate goal in Gyan. And if we just have Gyan and we keep accumulating Gyan without a recourse to surrender to Krishna's lotus feet, it becomes difficult to have higher realizations. And it becomes also difficult to have emancipation from the clutches of repeated birth and death. Yeah.
Iskoristit ću ovu priliku za reklamu za Bhagavad Gitu. Naravno, pošto govorimo o Bhagavad Giti, naša velika Atmina akcija Bhagavad Gita svakoga se nastavlja. Sve ovo o čemu smo mi pričali je sadržano u Bhagavad Giti. Bhagavad Gita je esencija sveg vedskog znanja. Možete naručiti preko Atme. Link ću staviti u opis ovog videa, prihvaćeni komentar. Bhagavad Gitu šaljemo u sve zemlje svijeta samo za troškove poštarine i donaciju po vašoj želji. Svakako ne želite propustiti ovu akciju. Mi nastavljamo dalje sa našom pričom. So in Vedanta Sutra there's this verse Atato Brahma Jigyasa. So that's the meaning of human life. So a lot of people from primordial times are thinking about what is the meaning of it all. So what does Vedanta Sutra says? What does that verse says?
Atato Brahma Jigyasa basically means that now that we are humans, let's inquire into spirit. Brahma means spirit. In other words, now that we are humans, let's investigate about the purpose of our existence. Let's discuss about spirituality. I never see dogs discussing about spirituality. I give classes, about spiritual classes all over the world. I never seen any class in any hall that a dog attended. Dogs are very good for security, but they don't sit down and listen to classes. That's not part of their... The spiritual discussions are the exclusive function of human intelligence. And therefore, the Vedanta Sutta, the ultimate Vedic literature, says, the very beginning says that encourages us to be inquirers, to be investigative inquirers in spirituality, in devotional culture. If we don't do that, you know what? Then we are not better than animals.
Dvai papashu says, like Prabhupada says, like two-legged animals.
Because you see the difference between humans and lower animals. I use the word lower animals because we are also animals by standard. We are humans. Now the difference between humans and the lower animals, like the primates, I mean like dogs and cats and all this stuff, is that we humans, we can align with the first Vedantic verse, Atata Brahma Jigyasa. Animals cannot. We can inquire into spirituality. We can inquire into Brahman, into Brahman. Dogs cannot. Dogs can do 4 things. They can eat, they can sleep anywhere. And they don't need to eat, they don't need to go to a sophisticated skyscraper to eat in a hotel. They eat anywhere, eating. So eating, sleeping, mating, they also have sex. They don't need to go to get 3 PhDs to be able to get a good, nice sex partner. No, dogs, I never seen, I've been to major universities all over the world, I never seen dogs in the classes.
Me neither.
So, eating, sleeping, mating, and fighting. Dogs, tigers, lions, they are better off than we humans.
So we as humans have specific purpose in the universe,
exactly.
And that purpose is inquiring.
Inquiring to spirituality.
Yeah.
If we don't do that, then you know what the Vedic literature says?
What?
They say we are
I'm
not
scared.
better. We're not better than animals. They say we are not better than animals.
Yeah.
Then we are just animals on 2 legs.
Yes.
So let's prove to the world, let's prove to the Vedic literature that we are humans. We are not animals.
It doesn't even say that you have to realize absolute truth, but just inquire.
Inquire, yeah. If that is not there, then
just start.
You're missing the whole point.
Yeah, just start somewhere. Okay, that's very nice. Let me get back to mantras. What is the difference between mantra and prayer, for example? Because people usually, for example, in Christian tradition and Muslim, I don't know, they have prayers, not mantras, as far as I know.
Yeah, a prayer means something that you're composing by yourself. You're talking to God. You're begging God for something. A mantra is something that words, composition, transcendental sound vibrations that are composed by the Lord himself. That's the difference. For instance, the Vedic literature is full of mantras. Who wrote the Vedic literature? The Lord himself wrote the Vedic literature. He came in the form of a scholar called Srila Vyasadeva. So mantras are traditionally different from prayers because anyone can compose a prayer. There's no harm in composing a prayer. Mantras have their purposes. Prayers have their purposes. Both serve a common goal of bringing us close to God.
Yeah, that's really important to say that. Okay, let's talk now about some people who are now getting interested in chanting, in mantra meditation. What are your best advices to start? And what about the monkey mind? You know, that's the main problem. Even for me, I have a lot of experience in chanting, but still, I really want to chant, I want to focus, but then it comes, you know, the mind.
Yeah. Some people, they get, the nice question, some people, they get frustrated because of the restlessness of the mind. I remember I was traveling in the United States, so I was in the West Coast. And I went to this community, the president at the time was a medical doctor, cancer doctor, and himself and a wife, they had a single child, a daughter. At the time, the girl was 16 years and was not chanting. So the mother said I should speak to her. The mother said that when she was small, she was chanting. So I spoke to the girl. The mother was sitting there in a sitting room. The grandmother, the girl also was sitting there. So then I spoke to the girl. I asked, what is it that is causing making you not to chant? Because your mom, your father is the president of this temple. He's a medical doctor. Your mother and your father will be at jeopardy if you don't chant. Because if you don't chant, there is a high probability that you will not be able to follow the four regulatory principles when you go, especially to the university. You know what the girl told me?
What?
She said that she stopped chanting because she's not having a taste for chanting. In other words, the mind is disturbing this way, this way. So I asked her, do you have a taste in going to school? Taste. She said no. So the mother of the girl, she busted out laughing. I said, hey, Mataji, we call ladies Mataji sometimes. So I said, Mataji, why are you laughing? You asked me to have a conversation with your daughter. I'm doing that. Now she responded to, I asked a question, and you are laughing. She said, Maharaj, you hit the nail on the head. That this girl, each time she comes back from school, she goes straight to my room and chastises me heavily. You sent me to school to just go and suffer. You're here eating and sleeping. And then she said, you're asking, now she says she doesn't have taste in going to school. That's why I'm laughing. So I told the girl, just like you don't have taste in going to school, and you continue going to school. Why? He said, because of our future. I said, oh, good. This mantra, in the beginning, you will not have taste. The mind will bother you like anything.
Yeah.
But be consistent. Be persistent. A time will come when all of these botherations will be cleared. So there is the offensive stage where the mantra is being chanted. The mind doesn't allow you to concentrate. The mind brings all types of things back and forth. Then we'll get to the stage, clearing stage, where all of these disturbances beginning to diminish. And then we'll get to a stage where there is a taste for the holy name. The problem with that level of the chanting is that it can create some trouble when you have a taste. Because you may not want to leave the chanting to do something else.
I don't know about that level.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So I spoke to the girl that, yeah, this disturbance, you're not having taste, you'll not be an impediment to stop you from chanting. Go on chanting. At some point in time, when you pass through all of these stages, you come to that stage of taste. And at that time, then don't jump. I mean, it's like someone who says, well, I stopped schooling because I'm not enrolled in on the PhD. You have to go to stages.
Stages, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah. And then, so the parents told me when I left that she went back to chanting. So yeah, the disturbances of chanting that they are in the beginning, it could last for a long time if we've not been meticulous and careful in terms of how we cultivate it. And one of the things that Prabhupada said, Prabhupada, I mean our founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, one of the things he said, recommended, is that we should chant and hear those 32 syllables. Hare Krišna, Rama. We should hear those syllables distantly when we are chanting. That will help in controlling the mind. And then, this is an age of distraction. I've seen this as I travel around, and it happens, I've seen it even with most exalted people, that they are chanting and then they keep the telephone by in front of them. The telephone is on. Then they're chanting Hare Krišna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. The phone rings and then they stop the chanting and pick the phone. Hello.
I know that's one. That's terrible. Yeah.
That is due to the influence of the mind. You see, when we do that, we are being abusive to Krishna. We are being abusive to God. Because in America, I don't know the case in Croatia here, but in America, if you're on the phone with somebody and you drop the phone, it's like you're telling the person, shit, get out from my life.
Yeah.
So that's what we are doing to Krishna. That's what we're doing to God.
Yeah, we are not polite. Yeah, that's not polite.
So that's an offensive
Stage. Yeah.
Offensive chanting. And therefore, we have to be consciously aware about what not to do and what to do. In fact, there are 10 offenses in the process of chanting. And if we follow all of these processes, especially inattentive chanting, it's a major problem. Because we are supposedly chanting and we are talking with somebody. Therefore, at specific times should be provided for our chanting. When we want to chant, don't keep your phones on. Put your phone on. Don't put on television. Listen, we were having a festival in New York some years ago, and one 10-year-old boy, at the time was just 10 years old, he was not chanting. His parents were chanting. And this boy, American boys, you know what he asked me? He said, I was walking with him. He came to me and then said, Maharaj, can I walk with you? I said, yes, why not? You're my friend. So we were going to the site of the Ratha Yatra. And then he asked me, Maharaj, I have a question. I said, please, feel free to ask. He asked me, can someone be watching television and chanting at the same time? 10 years old, he asked me, in New York. Then I said, no, that's offensive chanting. You know what? Guess what he said? He said, my parents do this all the time. I said, come on, you are not chanting and now you're finding fault with your parents. When you're chanting, then I will hear this your complaint. First you chant. So my point here is, sir, this boy has noticed his parents, they're chanting japa and they're watching television. We can be doing that for the rest of our life and we will not be free from this offensive stage because it's very offensive. We are in this inattentive chanting. And so there are so many things. The internet is a distraction. The telephone is a distraction. The TV is a distraction. And we have to see that we are giving time. The best hours for chanting is during the morning hours. 2 hours or 2.5 hours before. 2 hours or 2.5 hours before sunrise. At that time, people have not started their jobs. The atmosphere is serene. So when we do the chanting of the maha-mantra at that time, and that's recommended by our acharyas, by our teachers. When we do the chanting at that time, we can have a better concentration with better results. And we should try this and see that the chanting at that time is better off. In fact, if you are a professional, you're working or you're schooling, when you chant the early morning hours before you go to work, you are more productive because you have already served the Lord. You have also served the needs of the Lord. And then your own needs, they become like, something complementary. It becomes easy. If you don't chant before you go out, little agitations, you will be reactive. And that will reflect so much badly in your life and brings about the bad reputation to the organization you represent. Because, I'll give you an example. I like telling stories, practical stories.
Yes.
There was a friend of mine in Delhi. He told me this story. The people working in his office, they know him as a devotee. But then, when people know you as a devotee also in the office like that, some people are just there to agitate you, to prick you, to poke you. So one guy came to poke him. They kept poking him. And then one day he lost control. So he reacted. And then the guy said, oh, but you are a Krishna devotee. You're not supposed to act like that. You're not supposed to speak like that. So people watch us in the offices or in our communities. And sometimes material energy uses some people as agents to test us. We have to be careful what we are representing, because there will be temptations. Yes. Just like in the schools, there are always exams, because when you do exam and you pass, you get to the next class, the next grade. Yeah, so the devotees or the chanters, those who are practicing, we have to understand that people are watching us, and therefore we have to be good examples for the public.
Yes. Yeah. The interesting thing is, you said that when someone stops, for example, is chanting for a while and then stops, that can be very that can be a problem, because he can start with illicit activities again.
Yeah. In fact, if we're chanting and then for one reason or the other we stop chanting, then very easily the mind becomes influenced by the environmental forces. Now, the reason for that is that the mind is like a chameleon. The chameleon changes with the environment. The mind is also changes with the environment. And according to Professor Lewin, a German psychologist called Professor Lewin, he developed the field theory in 1938 and 39, which is a scientific model demonstrating why we do what we're doing. We go to the temples, we go to the dam, we go to the holy places. Why are we doing that? Because the environment impacts on our values. So this is being established by the domain of science. And so what we're doing is basically scientific. That we go to the holy places to pay pilgrimages, for pilgrimages. This is valid because it helps to expedite our purification process. When we go to the dam, whether we like it or not, we get purified. We get better sense of belonging in terms of how and why we need to do the chanting. Mm. And so I advise people, those people who are not going for pilgrimage, in the Christian tradition, Muslim, they all go for pilgrimages. We should also encourage our followers, our devotees, to go to places like Vrindavan and Mayapur for pilgrimage, because that helps with this mantra meditation a lot. It helps to expedite your purification process, better concentration in the chanting, and all the rest of it.
Yeah, that's for sure. And you get association of same-minded persons. That's I think the most important thing of all, because it can destruct you. Your society, your people around you can have destructive influence on you, or beautiful influence on your spiritual.
Sure. That's it. That's true.
Yeah. Okay, so we are coming a little bit now at the end of our podcast. I would like to ask you, usually I ask my guests to maybe give some final message for our viewers, something which can impact them, inspire them, some powerful short message.
Yeah, my message to viewers of this program is that, like I mentioned earlier, they should look at me, try to see me as a good example for you to pursue spiritual life, because I'm a professional. Okay, I'm not someone on the street who you will say, well, he became a Swami because he doesn't have anything to do. He has no skills. He has no job. No, I have a PhD, and I've been in this system for 40 years. So there must be something really serious that has motivated me. So viewers, understand that if you don't integrate spirituality in your professional development, your life could be dicey. Your life, you could be miserable. You can be a victim of circumstance at any time. You can be a statistic at any time. Therefore, Srila Vyasadeva, the author of the Vedic literatures, he said specifically in one of the literatures, is Upanishad, text 11, he says, we have to cultivate devotional activities and professional or career side by side. In that way, we can easily attain liberation at the end of this life. The watchword here is becoming liberated. Therefore, we should integrate spirituality in our professional lives. Thank you very much.
Maharaj, thank you very much for your precious time and for your wisdom. Please come again. It was such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dragi gledatelji, evo to je bilo sve od nas za večeras. Vjerujem da ste uživali u ovom razgovoru i još jednom vam napominjem, svakako naručite Bhagavad Gitu i uđite dublje u sve ove teme o kojima smo večeras razgovarali. Jedan veliki pozdrav iz Splita.